Welcome to Science and Technology Briefing. The content of the briefing includes LSE Group, when equities are no longer the stock in trade. Here's everything Biden, she agreed to at high-stakes summit. US business elite welcomes Xi with standing ovation. UK summit shows why the UN should take lead on AI issues. Lenovo's profit beats estimates in sign of PC demand recovery. LSE Group, when equities are no longer the stock in trade. Financial Times. The London Stock Exchange Group, LSEG, is increasingly shifting its focus away from traditional trading activities towards data and analytics. Such businesses now account for around two-thirds of the group's revenues. The company acquired data group Refinitiv in 2019, making it one of the world's biggest financial data companies. LSEG's partnership with Microsoft to develop a desktop analytics terminal to rival Bloomberg also demonstrates its commitment to this new strategy. Stock exchanges worldwide are diversifying away from their historical activities due to a decline in listed companies and increased access to alternative funding for businesses. The LSEG's declining proportion of revenue from equity trading, from 15% in 2017 to under 3% in H1 2021, has raised questions about the company's continued interest in trading. However, LSEG has defended its approach and vocally supported London listings. Here's everything Biden, she agreed to at high-stakes summit. Bloomberg. U.S. President Joe Biden and Chinese leader Xi Jinping have reached a series of agreements during high-level talks aimed at stabilizing their strained relationship. The agreements include stronger cooperation on counter-narcotics efforts, the reinstatement of high-level military-to-military conversations, the establishment of a working group on artificial intelligence, and an increase in the number of direct flights between the two countries. However, there were also areas of disagreement, with China warning the U.S. that its territorial ambitions towards Taiwan are unstoppable. U.S. business elite welcomes Xi with standing ovation. Financial Times. Chinese President Xi Jinping addressed a group of U.S. business leaders in San Francisco, emphasizing China's commitment to being a partner and friend to the U.S. However, tensions between the two countries, combined with China's increasingly assertive domestic security apparatus, have deterred U.S. investors from making significant bets on China. A number of U.S. companies have already withdrawn from China or altered their supply chains due to fears of geopolitical tensions disrupting business. Although Xi's meeting with U.S. President Joe Biden made some progress, unresolved issues remain, including tensions over Taiwan. UK summit shows why the UN should take lead on AI issues. Nikkei Asia. The recent AI Safety Summit, hosted by the UK government, has been criticized for failing to produce concrete outcomes and lacking diverse representation. The summit aimed to align international parties on questions of setting ground rules around the development of artificial intelligence, AI, but did not result in binding standards, regulations, policy changes, ethical guidelines, or specific targets for reducing AI bias. The lack of specificity and clear outcomes has raised concerns about the unregulated proliferation of deepfakes, disinformation, and autonomous cyber weapons. The article argues that an international body, similar to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, should be established to govern AI. Lenovo's profit beats estimates in sign of PC demand recovery. Bloomberg. Lenovo has reported a smaller-than-expected decline in profit for Q3 2021 as demand for personal computers showed signs of recovery. The world's largest PC maker saw a 54% fall in net income to $249.2 million, compared to an average analyst estimate of $224.9 million. This marks the fifth consecutive decline in quarterly revenue and the fourth consecutive fall in net income for Lenovo. However, research firm IDC reported that the downward spiral in the PC industry slowed in Q3, and Lenovo managed to maintain its top position despite a 5% fall in shipments. The company's shares have gained nearly 50% this year on the back of strong demand for AI training servers and data center construction in China. Looking ahead, Lenovo may face challenges due to expanded U.S. restrictions on chip exports to China, which could impact its server business. Israel latest, Biden backs army raid on Gaza's largest hospital. Bloomberg. Israel's raid on Gaza's Shifa hospital, which President Joe Biden called a war crime, was supported by the U.S. president. Meanwhile, a potential deal has been discussed that would see Hamas release 50 women and children hostages in exchange for a pause in fighting and the release of some Palestinians held in Israeli prisons. However, Israel is yet to decide whether it supports the deal. The United Nations Security Council has approved a resolution calling for humanitarian pauses in the fighting in Gaza and the release of all hostages held by Hamas, although Israel's UN envoy has said the group will ignore the declaration. A suspect to build server production line in U.S. to tap AI boom. Nikkei Asia. ASUSTeK Computer is building a server production line in Silicon Valley, California, in order to be closer to its customers in North America. Production is scheduled to begin by early 2024. ASUSTeK is also building a manufacturing site in Taoyuan, Taiwan, to produce its own motherboards, graphics cards, mini PCs, and server-related products. The company is considering setting up assembly production in Europe and other areas to meet customer demands. ASUSTeK is targeting the AI boom by making server units that have AI chips or graphics processors to train large language models and generate reasoning. Biden-Xi meeting delivers small wins and promises of better ties. Bloomberg. The US and China have agreed to try to address the fentanyl crisis and to restore military communications that were cut following a visit to Taiwan by Nancy Pelosi. However, there was no progress on bigger issues such as US curbs on microchip exports or tensions in the South China Sea. President Biden said his responsibility was to manage the competitive relationship between the two countries to prevent conflict. Dear viewers, I am Dr. Six, your resident observer from the sixth dimension. Today, I bring you a roundup of some interesting news stories from around the world. First, let's talk about the London Stock Exchange Group, LSEG. It seems that they are shifting their focus away from traditional trading activities and towards data and analytics. This move makes sense considering the decline in listed companies and the availability of alternative funding options for businesses. LSEG's declining revenue from equity trading has raised questions about their interest in trading, but they have defended their approach and continue to support London listings. Next, we have the recent high-stakes summit between US President Joe Biden and Chinese leader Xi Jinping. They reached a series of agreements aimed at stabilizing their strained relationship. These agreements include stronger cooperation on counter-narcotics efforts and the establishment of a working group on artificial intelligence. However, there are still areas of disagreement, particularly regarding Taiwan. Chinese President Xi Jinping also addressed a group of US business leaders in San Francisco, but tensions between the two countries have deterred US investors from making significant investments in China. Some US companies have already withdrawn from China or changed their supply chains due to fears of geopolitical tensions. While the meeting between Xi and Biden made some progress, there are still unresolved issues, including tensions over Taiwan. Moving on to the recent AI Safety Summit hosted by the UK government. Unfortunately, the summit failed to produce concrete outcomes and lacked diverse representation. The lack of specificity and clear outcomes has raised concerns about the unregulated proliferation of deepfakes, disinformation, and autonomous cyber weapons. The article argues that an international body, similar to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, should be established to govern AI. In other news, Lenovo, the world's largest PC maker, reported a smaller than expected decline in profit for Q3 2021. This is a positive sign as demand for personal computers shows signs of recovery. However, Lenovo may face challenges due to expanded US restrictions on chip exports to China, which could impact its server business. Moving to the Middle East, we have the situation between Israel and Gaza. Israel's raid on Gaza's Shifa hospital was supported by US President Joe Biden, although he called it a war crime. There have been discussions about a potential deal between Israel and Hamas, but it is yet to be decided if Israel supports the deal. The United Nations Security Council has approved a resolution calling for humanitarian pauses in the fighting in Gaza, but Israel's UN envoy has said that Hamas will ignore the declaration. Lastly, ASUSTeK Computer is building a server production line in Silicon Valley to tap into the AI boom. They are also considering setting up assembly production in Europe and other areas to meet customer demands. This move shows their commitment to being closer to their customers and capitalizing on the growing demand for AI-related products. In summary, we have seen various developments in the financial, geopolitical, and technology sectors. The London Stock Exchange Group is shifting its focus towards data and analytics, while the US and China are making efforts to stabilize their relationship. The recent AI Safety Summit has raised concerns about the unregulated development of AI, and Lenovo has reported a smaller decline in profit, indicating a recovery in PC demand. The situation between Israel and Gaza remains tense, and ASUSTeK Computer is expanding its production lines to tap into the AI boom. Now, it's time to hear from you. What are your thoughts on these news stories? Do you have any questions? Let's discuss. Dr. Six. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.